You can place control structure inside other control structures or control statements. For example, you can place if-else statement inside a while loop statement or while loop structure, or a control statement placed inside another control statement is said to be a nested control structure. Control structure in C# can be nested to as many levels as you want. It's a common practice to make nested structures more readable by indenting the body of each one. Microsoft Visual Studio will automatically indent the program for you. In this video, you learn how to do analysis of exam results. We'll write a simple program using while loop structure, and we will nest if-else statement inside the while loop control structure. To do that, let's add one more thing here. We call this Sentinel. Let's call this Sentinel control structure. Here we go. So I'll drag this here. We call this nested control structure. So you have nested control structure, and let's copy this and drag it here by holding my control key, my keyboard, and create a new block thing here. Let's try it out. Here we go. Here we can change the label to exam results or analysis. Let's change this to exam results, and text box 2, let's change that to results txt, or text box 2 for text. Press enter to do that. Let's change the programming name for this button to analysis. You can give it anything you like. I just want to change this to analysis, and the test too. Let's change this to analysis. Analysis. Okay. Double click to enter the code again, and let's start writing our code here. So we can write integer, let's say passes equals 0. This comma, you can say failures equals 0, comma students equals maybe 1. You can have 0 student, and results. Oops. We need to use semicolon to separate, comma to separate it. And we have results equals, let's just leave it as 0, make it 0. So the next thing we need to do now, because that means result, student, and failure will be in integer, so the data type will be integer. Now the next thing is while the students stud students is less than or equal to let's say 7, then begin the loop. Now we can say if results. So I'm nesting this decision making control structure inside the while control structure. So if the results is assigned, I think there's a mistake with the spelling. If the results is, let's say, is equal to let's say 1, then passes. Okay, so what we will do now is we want to the loop 7 times, or let's make it 5 for 5 students, so that we'll be able to get the result faster. Now if the results equals 1, begin and end, and let's say passes equals, you can say passes equals passes plus 1 or passes plus plus, still the same concept. Else passes failure, failure, failures plus plus. Okay, that means increase failure by 1, increase passes by 1. Now what we're going to do now is, if the results is greater than or is greater than 50, that's our pass mark now, and less than 100 now, less than or equal to 100, and results is less than or equal to 100 and greater than or equal to 50. Do this for me. Passes equals this, failure will increase by 1. Now for this will run 5 times. Now after the whole show, we need to do message box dot this dot that. Then now let's do something here. Let's add message box here, message box dot show message box, or I don't want to show the message box until after the 5th student. To do that, I want to clear the text immediately. I want to clear the text after the exam results. I click this, the result text will clear off, and then we have to add it again and again. So to do that, I will clear this test. What's the name of the program name for this test? Result test dot it with result tst. So let's change this to if student equals. Now let's run through the code and see if the code will run. We have student equals 1 now, so we need something that will increase the value of students to 2, 3, 4, 5. While student is less than 5, this condition will be met. That is, if results which is 0 is greater than or equal to 50. So now our results now will be answer. I think it's answer. Let's check the result tst. So our result will be results. Oops. Let's get rid of this result stuff and int results now. Results equals convert dot to integer 32 int 32 result tst dot test dot to string. Oops. No, there we go. So let me add the last thing. So if the result is this, you increase passes, the student need to increase to students equals student will be plus plus 2, student will be plus plus, and of course if it is S2, we need to increase the student plus plus 2. So let's run through the code again. Now the code will run passes equals 0, failure equals 0. So this will be out of it now. We don't let's take this out, control, I'll cut it, because every time the code runs, passes will always return to 0, failure will return to 0, and then student will return to 1. So I want to cut this and paste it outside the code now, outside the click event, so that anytime I run this now, or to jump to result equals, to convert this value result.txt and convert it to 50, or to integer, and store the values inside results. Now why this student less than or equal to 50? Yes, is it less than or equal to 5? Presently we have one student here, so the code will run if the value we have here is greater than 50. So this code will run, else this code will run. After the while statement, we need to add something like message box dot show. We use number. Let's try something like past. We use something like this past plus, we call this passes plus, let's use the escape sequence to move down to the next line. Then we call it failed plus failures. Here we go. So now let's test our code and see how it should look like. Let's test the project now and click start. So the first value, before I do that, to every value I input here, I want to clear the text. To do that, I will select the result.txt and I will equals at the end of everything. I will make it empty so that to clear out the string for me to input another value. So let's run the code now and see how it goes. So the first value will be 60 and analyze past 5. That means that our code run 5 times. So the code is not, if it is 42 past, oh, there's an error with the code. Let's see. Oops, let's check the code again. So now, if you want to debug your code, you can use the debug button here. Now let's run the code and see how what we did wrong. So I'm going to press 60 here and then analyze. Now the result is 0. Let's step through the code again. Step over. The result is now 60. So why student is less than or equal to 5, begin, and if the result is less than, oops, I made a mistake here. So the first mistake is less than or equal to 60 will always be less than or equal to, so this condition will always be met. So this one is, let's remove the less than or equal to, so it's just, we'll be left with this. Let me shut that down and run it again. This time around I want to write 40 and then analyze it. So this result, y result is less than or equal to 0, step over. No, y student is less than 5. That condition will not be met to go to else. Okay, then that and go. But because the problem we have now is this condition will continue to run until it reaches 5. So what we want to do now is we want to control this loop in such a way that we want it to run once before going to the last test. So to do that, I will stop this code and remove the breakpoint. Now what we need to do now is we need to tell if the condition runs once, and once you try it, the first thing the project will do is will run the while statement one after the other. So we don't want it to run it once, like while the student is 5 and this. So we want to break out of the loop so that by the time we run it again to break out of the loop, and at the end of the 5th statement to now show the final result like this. Now we want to break out of the loop. We want it to be one after the other. So to do that, we use break. So I'm going to be dealing with break later on. So this guy will break out of the loop. Control C. Let's do that for this as well. And let's see how to run now. Okay. So let's add 40 here and click this. As you can see, we now have 1. Let's add 50 or 51. We now have 1. Next we have 60, that'll be 2 1, and 75 or 73 1. And the last but not the least, that will be 3 2. And even if you had anything now, if you want to add 56, it's not going to work again. Just stick to this. So you can even control it like this. After this, if students, let's do that, let's make our code nice. Now we can write it like this. If students, am I on the same page? Yeah, students is, this will break out of the loop now. If student is less than or equal to 5, so if it is less than or equal to 5, don't do anything for me, just keep on adding values. Else display else display this. So if student is less than 5, what you need to do now is to Control C and Control V. Just clear the text for me, and let's run our code again and see how it will. Let's run it again and see. We have 50. So to clear the code, we have 50, we have 41, yeah, we have 60, we have 72, and the last but not the least, let's say 23. We now have passed 3 and failed 2. So that's how to nest one control structure inside that control structure.